afternoon and hello, folks. Welcome to another Flycast Partners presentation. My name is Rich Lungo and I'm your host. And today our topic is on followership, being presented by our very own John Postorino. Now, John is our Chief Operating Officer for Flycast Partners. He's an innovative thinker possessing expertise in operations, finance, business development, and customer success. He's been a part and responsible for cross-functional teams building and implementing strategic initiatives focused on automation and integration, standardizing processes, reducing manual touch points, and ultimately reducing operating costs. He's highly accomplished, customer-centric executive with a proven track record of integrating resources and technology with business strategy to increase productivity and market share, has extensive experience building and leading global professional services and operations teams focused on eliminating significant operating costs and improving profitability for organizations throughout diverse industries and environments. He's recognized as a driver of change and strategic planning with expertise managing business imperatives such as customer retention, satisfaction, IT implementation, cost containment, control, profitability, and efficiencies. With that being said, he's also a decorated Marine Corps officer and knows how to drive and manage change, identifying and developing future talent, coaching and developing others, defining and executing organizational changes. So what better of a person than to talk about followership than John with everything that he has accomplished throughout his extensive career. Before we get started, John, let me introduce our organization here. Flycast Partners. Who is Flycast? Well, we're here to deliver you a seriously amazing IT experience. We were founded and staffed by personnel that have many years of experience in the IT space. We took the best ideas from all these collective experiences and added the best components necessary to grow and become one of the largest value-added resellers in the North American IT market. We offer best-in-class implementation services and training in IT service management, IT asset management, and IT operations management spaces using ITIL best practice. Our professional services team can easily scale up or down to meet the needs of any customer, regardless of size, complexity, or budgetary restrictions. Most importantly, we offer implementation services both on-site and remote, especially with the day and age we're living in today. I know how important remote is to most of you. And we can also perform training to reinforce your organization's long-term IT success. Our ongoing remote administration support service offerings will enable your organization to focus on those normal day-to-day operations, saving you both precious time and money. I encourage you to give us a call at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or go to our website. Go check our website out. Check out some of the webinars we have upcoming, some of the training events, download white papers, go in there and explore. On the right-hand side of that main page, you'll see this little thing. It says, "Let's talk." Guess what? That's chat. Those folks can't wait to talk to you. Go in there, ask whatever questions you have. They'll be happy to help you out. Request demos, just additional information. How do I get signed up for this? Where's your next podcast or blog? It's all there, right there on our website. Should by any chance you don't feel like actually talking or typing to someone direct, we also encourage you to go ahead and email us at info@flycastpartners.com. Now, without further delay, I'm going to turn this presentation over to the star of the hour, John Postorino. John, I have just given you control.
So thank you, Rich. Like he said, as Rich said, my name is John Postorino, and this is probably going to be the most non-IT demonstration oh, sorry about this. I didn't want to do that. Sorry. Most non-IT discussion that we're going to have from a webinar perspective. And really what I want to talk about is followership and the impact followership has on the organization. And a lot of people think about followership or might not even know what followership is. And sometimes in some circles within society and organizations, followership can have a negative connotation, but it's not negative from my perspective. From my perspective, it's extremely positive. And one of the things that I want to convey today as we go through this is if you learn to follow and be an effective follower, you're going to be an effective leader. And there's many different ways that you can achieve that, success. And I'm going to try to go through that today. And a lot of the information that I am going to go over today are things that I'm sure most people or a lot of people who are on this call or on this webinar, they understand. I'm just kind of putting it together a little bit differently, that could hopefully make some sense to, to all of us. So in saying that, I just want to move forward. So you want to talk about, like, there's certain quotes. There's a lot of quotes out there on the internet. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of information about followership. And one of the things that people talk about when they start discussing their role within an organization, everything is I can't say everything. Most things are focused on leadership. Leadership programs, who can do what, how, the young leadership program, the leadership programs where they deep select somebody and they put them through this aggressive program, and they have all this strategic path for their success. But one thing that a lot of organizations don't focus on, it's focused on the followers, it's focused on the teammates. And really, if you ask me, and you can look at some of these quotes that you see on the screen here, you don't have to be in charge to lead effectively and set the example and be accountable. That's just, it does tie into leadership, but a lot of things that you're going to see and the things that we're going to discuss today are, a lot of the characteristics or attributes of a successful follower are the same attributes and characteristics of a successful leader. And one of the things that, if you look at this middle one by Barbara Kellerman, followers are more important than leaders are to followers. That's something that I've lived by my entire career. The teammates are far more important than the leader. Leader can come and go. It's the teammates. The teammates are the ones that get things done. The followers are the ones that get things done. They're the ones that execute. They're the ones that take control. They really dictate your success. They dictate the success of the organization. They also dictate, and not say dictate, but they have a lot of impact on the cost of the organization, on the internal and the external cost of your products. So I'm going to go into that in a little bit. And then the last one, from Gandhi to Mandela, from the American patriots to the Polish shipbuilders, the makers of revolutions have not come from the top. And what that is really saying is, you don't start at the top. Nobody starts at the top. I don't care who you are or what role you have within today's society. You don't start at the top. You have to start someplace, and you have to learn. And you can learn through, relationships, experiences, happenings, things that you encounter throughout your life. That's what's going to define you. Those are the things that are going to define you. Those are the things that you're going to learn, and how you're going to be. And I don't want to say successful, but but they're the things that are going to help you throughout your life. So what we're going to talk about today is, we're going to talk about followership. What does it mean? We're going to talk about personality types. We're going to talk about followership types. And for personality types, there's 4 different major categories of personality types. Followership types, you can see it here. There's 5 different categories, or 5 different groups. We want to talk about basic needs for followers. We want to talk about paths to followership. And then we want to talk about the impact followership has on an organization. So again, I want to make sure that I have to continue to say this, is that followership has a positive connotation, not a negative connotation. And it's something that we, I think in today's society, we say, oh, you're just such a follower. Sometimes that's not truly the way we want to express it. We want to talk about followership in a positive sense. We want to talk about followership from a successful sense. Being that teammate that's going to be there by your side, helping you, achieve your desired end state. That's really what I want to talk about today with followership. So followership, this is really just the basic definition from, a dictionary. The ability and willingness to follow a leader. Okay, we get it. Really, if you want to make here another definition, it's really you working as a group to achieve a desired end state. Simple as that. So that's something that is it's very important, and it's the definition of followership. So what does followership really mean? Well, it's a characteristic of being active and being a positive participant in some kind of environment. You want to talk about, and there's certain characteristics of an exceptional follower, and you want to say, okay, so what is it? It's working, excuse me, it's working independently. It's taking responsibility for your actions, taking initiative, talking about taking ownership of necessary tasks, understanding really what, without having a supervisor or a leader or, a person, somebody who you're superior telling you 24/7 what needs to get done. You don't have to be that person. So a good follower, I want to say good follower, an exemplary follower is somebody who has all these characteristics and takes control of the situation and executes. And that's something that we want to talk about today. Sorry. And then why is this important? Well, it's important because if you don't have good followers, if you don't have good teammates, you're never going to achieve your internal goals or your external goals. You're really not going to get anything done. Nobody can, you can't go into a situation and say you want to build a product within an organization, or from an IT perspective, you want to build a network, you want to build some software. Unless you're the catch-all be-all, the Bill Gates of today, you're not going to get that done by yourself. You're going to need help. And when you need help, those are followers, those are teammates, those are people that are going to be by your side. So a leader is only as effective as they can be based upon the resources that they have. So really, it's the followers who are the most important piece. And if you look at a follower, you look at employees, and I call them teammates, I don't even call them employees, but if you look at people within an organization, and you want to say that is probably the most important resource an organization can have, and they do have, because that's the resource that gets everything done. Yes, you're going to have some people that are going to have oversight of that resource, but at the end of the day, it's that resource that is the most valuable asset that your organization will have, or does have. I'm trying to scroll up here. And so when we talk about this specific webinar, we want to talk about showing different types of personalities, showing different types of followers. And then when I want to give you guys an idea of the personal characteristics, allowing you, when I say you, teammates, leaders, whomever you are, whoever's on the phone, is really to understand a situation and read a situation and read a group or read a person. I'm not saying to read a person like, oh, you're, from a psychological standpoint, but you're looking at, you can identify and put them into a certain, a specific category potentially, and then you can change the way that you approach the situation. Everybody's different. I was talking to the PM group, the Flycast PM group the other day, and we were talking about, this exact topic and how we can go in and read a situation and how we can take control of that situation based upon, and I want to say it, the needs and the wants of the person that you're dealing with. Every situation is different. Everybody's different. You're going to go in and sometimes there's going to be a very stoic person, somebody who wants no nonsense. You're going to get in there, you're going to get out. And there's going to be other people that want to get in and they want to interact, they want to learn, they want to talk, they want to understand. It's going to be a completely different approach. And that's kind of the way you have to look at it when you go into understanding some of the things that we're going to discuss today. And one other thing too that I think I need to make perfectly clear, and I got this thing coming up on my screen. One other thing I want to make perfectly clear is that sometimes you're going to have situations within the workplace that aren't going to make sense to you. And I'm not saying have a blind, faith that, hit the magic button, the blind faith button, and everything's going to come out great. But sometimes you do have to believe, and you have to believe in what's being presented to you by, and it could be the organization, it could be leadership, because that's what's going to define you as a good follower, as a good teammate. And one of the examples that I want to give, and Rich talked about it earlier, I was in the service for a while, and you had to go through, and you got to learn how to, they call it drill, but you had to learn how to march. And marching, initially it's like the most foreign thing you've ever want to do. They're gonna say turn left and you're turning right, or vice versa, and turn around, and they're yelling at you, and it's just complete chaos. And so what happens is you go through that and you're like, this makes no sense to me. I disagree with this. This doesn't fit me, and you want to go through this whole process about, you don't agree with it. Well, what you learn very soon after that is, when you do marching, it's truly the most expedient manner in which you can move a large group of people from point A to point B. You don't know that when you're initially doing that. When you're initially doing that, you're trying to figure out right and left. And so it comes down to it's actually pretty neat the way it works, because you don't really understand until you get in there and you start doing it, that the sense that it's making. Let's see, why is this not going? Sorry, I'm kind of, looks like I'm a little stuck here. Just bear with me, please.
No problem. And folks, if you have any questions on the followership, go ahead and send those to us, and
Yeah.
we'll try and get some kind of answer for you.
Yeah, I apologize. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about now is personality types. And one of the things, this is a book. It's called The Treasure Tree. It's a book I read to my daughter, years ago when she was young. And when I first read it, it's about a group of animals, and they have a map, and they have to go and navigate this map and get to this desired end state, but they have to do it as a team. Well, when I first read it, and this is years ago, it's probably 12 years ago, I thought it was incredible. I thought it was the easiest way, or one of the easiest ways that you can explain the four major personality types to people and make it simple, make it something relatable to them and what they do on a daily basis. And this is good. The personality types I'm going to show you are people that you probably even dealt with just today, or people that you're always going to deal with. And it could be, you could deal with at home, you could deal with in public, you can deal with, in private, you can deal with at work, you can deal with them really anywhere. So the first one is the lion. And the lion has that very dominant personality, somebody who wants to lead, somebody who's going to take charge. They're good at making decisions. They're goal-oriented. But you also have to look at other things because they're so focused on their goal, they're so focused on them, they're so focused on getting to that next level that a lot of times they forget how aggressive they are, how competitive they are. How that some of the things that they say can hurt somebody's feelings or just be overly direct. And it's their way or the highway. There's no going around it. That's the lion personality. So you want to look at their strengths. Their strengths are, they're goal-oriented, they're strong, they're direct, but their weaknesses are they're very argumentative. They're very dictative in the way that they present the material to whomever they're speaking to. And their limitations are, they don't understand necessarily the way they talk to people and how they present, topics or how they converse with other people. They're very direct. And they don't understand sometimes that doesn't work. That doesn't work with a lot of people. And then one other things too is they have an exceptionally hard time accepting, or I'm going to say accepting, but giving grace or giving, kudos to, people on their team, saying thank you. That's the lion. The next one is the otter. The otter is the social butterfly. The otter is the one that flutters around the office and just talks, and they're the popular ones. They love everybody. They want to be popular. They get offended when they're not being accepted as being popular, but they're the ones that are always in the corner, or not even the corner. They're out front and they're cheering you on. They're the ones that every day talking about how great life is and how they want to make life great. But one of the things about the otter is they get their feelings hurt a lot. They have a lot of relationships, but they have very few deep relationships with people or deep connections with people. Their strengths are their people, they're open, they're positive. But some of their weaknesses is that otters have a tendency to goof off. Otters have a tendency to not finish jobs or rush jobs to get to the desired end, not even desired end state, to get to their desired end state so they can go have fun. The otter is always focused on fun. And then one of the other things that one of the limitations of the otter are remembering past commitments. So an otter, because they're just pushing through, and I would say their attention span, because they probably have very good attention spans, but they're focused on having fun, that they sometimes forget what the original commitment was. And they don't want to give necessarily times 100%. They want to take it to the 80%, and then they want to go have fun. That's an otter. The next one is the golden retriever. The golden retriever is the loyal, and anybody who has a golden retriever knows they never leave you alone. Golden retrievers are extremely caring. They want to be loved. They're loyal. They're looking for consistency. They have exceptionally deep relationships, but they only have relationships with few. So if it's somebody that they have a relationship with, and when I say relationship, it can mean a lot of different things. But when they have a relationship, they're never going to leave your side. They're going to be the most loyal person that can be with you, walking, going through a project, going through a process, going through an event. That's the golden retriever. Their strengths are they're very calm, they're very affirming. Again, they're very loyal. But some of their weaknesses are they're indecisive, they're indifferent. And they have a hard time being hard on people. So if there's something like that somebody has to be disciplined or somebody has to be talked to in a stern way, that's not a golden retriever. That's not something that they excel at. That's something that they feel extremely uncomfortable doing. So some of the limitations that they have are being assertive and really holding others accountable, because they don't want to be that person. They don't want to be the bad guy. So that's a golden retriever. The next one is the beaver. And the beaver is the beaver for us, and for most people on the phone. If we're all IT people, we're on the phone. I'm telling you, beaver is who most of us are. Very organized, very creative, want to solve something. They want to take control. They want to solve it with an IT solution. It's their way. And this is one thing too, that they have a very hard time. Beavers have a very hard time being subjective about something. It's very objective, and it's the way that they want it, and that's the way it's going to be. I've been probably I can align myself very much with being this type of person. So from a beaver perspective, you want to look at so their strengths. They're very organized. They're very detailed. They're driven. They want to solve everything. They want to be right. Some of their weaknesses is it's their way or the highway. Sometimes they hold people so accountable that it's almost like unrealistic or unachievable goals. And I can tell you, from my experience, that even when I was back in the service, there were my goals, and I believe me, I've had people tell me this. There's my goals, and then there's the organizational goals, and I shouldn't get the two confused. Sometimes the things that we do in the leadership roles is we come up with ideas that are unrealistic, and yet but we live with them, and we want to say this is the way it's going to be. Well, sometimes we can't do that to our teammates, our followers, because they're not realistic, and you're not setting them up for success. So that's the beaver. So these are the four major types of personalities. These are the things that you're going to deal with on a daily basis, and you could probably just start going through your head right away, and you're like, oh, Bob's a lion, John's an otter, those type of things. So when we talk about, we have followers, we have followership types. So we're going to talk about, there's different types of followers, and there's going to be 5 different types. And they're listed at the bottom. And I just put them in this, and this is my beaver mind coming out. And I've only put them in this order only because it's alphabetical and it flows better. But that's, again, that's kind of the way I think. But one you want to talk about is what I want to talk about is, in organizations and again in society, we focus on leaders and we don't focus on followership types. And that's one of the things I want to convey today. And I really would like, I'm gonna say get away from, but I want to try to open up minds to sit there and think about, the teammates are the most important asset. The teammates are the most important, variable in this equation. It's not the leader. And so when we become servants to, the teammates and the followers, we are going to do nothing but grow an organization in the most positive manner possible. And so those are the things that we have to focus on, and we have to focus on in leaders, and we have to focus on as followers. So just because people talk about leadership and they always want to be a leader and they want to get to that point, it doesn't necessarily mean they're all going to be, the best. There's going to be a lot of people that are very average at leading. And my dog's going crazy now. That's great. But so there's some people who are very average at leading, or some people who think in their minds that they're great leaders, but they were poor followers. Well, in most cases, they're going to be poor leaders. And again, those are the things that you have to focus on. You have to hone your skills. You have to, put together this toolbox, while you're going through this process, until, to prepare you, if you want to get to that level, if you want to get to the leadership role, if that's what you really want to do. And a lot of people don't want to be leaders. A lot of people want to be, the number 2. A lot of people want to be those types of people. And that's great. I think it's wonderful. I mean, I'm a number 2. I'm not a number 1. I've always been a number 2. I'm probably always going to be a number 2. It's where I feel most comfortable. It's where I think I can excel. I'm not a number 1. I don't need to be a number 1. But I still want to hone my skills. I still want to, learn more about me as an individual, my personality, my skill set. What follower type am I? So what I want to do is I'm going to go into a little bit a few of these things, or each one of these things, and talk a little bit about each one. And then we're going to, talk about then the impact on the organization. So the first one is alienated. And again, these are probably people you deal with on a daily basis. These are the people that they think freely and critically, but they participate in nothing, and they critique and criticize everything. There, to me, from my perspective, these are the people that you would always go, oh gosh, I don't want to have to go talk to, John, because John's all he's gonna do is complain and nothing's gonna get done. That's this type of person. But knowing this as a leader, knowing this as another teammate or a follower, and understanding what is driving this person, now you have an idea on how you could approach the situation. How can you get this person to think potentially positive about something? How can you get this person to align with what the direction is from the organization and from the leader? So these are the things, again, if you know this type of person, you just approach it differently. You talk to them about, the things that they're upset about, or they're critiquing or criticizing, and just really ask the why. And there's there's books out there about just asking why. By the time you ask why 5 times, you should have, an idea, a pretty good idea of what the topic is and what the problem is. So these are the alienated followership types. And you can see on the bottom, and this is going to be in a diagram that I'll show you in a moment, but they score high in independent thinking. So they're very, I'm going to say very bright. They think independently. They think about ideas. They do those things. But what they don't do? They don't engage. So I always like to say, I used to always say that, there's a lot of very smart people who are unemployed right now. And it's just saying, you're going, okay, let's have great ideas, but if you don't act on your great ideas, it's not going to get done. Next one is the conformist. The conformist is the epitome of the yes person. Yes, boss, great job, love it. You're the number one. We're going with this, no matter what they say. They never question authority. They're the ones that they're somewhat of, if you go back to the personality types, they're somewhat of the otter, a little bit of the otter, and it's always positive, and it's always yay, and yes, we're going to do this, and yes, 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 yes. Even if it's something that's horribly wrong, they're going to say yes. So they score high in active engagement and low in independent thinking. So that's the conformist. The next one is the exemplary follower. This is kind of the silent leader, and from a followership standpoint, and if you get anything out today, this is kind of where you want to try to drive your organizational team members. And again, not everybody is going to fall into this category. There's going to be some that are going to be in the middle or cross over into different types. But at the end of the day, this right here is going to be where you would like to get to. And of course, it's in a perfect world, and we know that people, all of us are very imperfect. So trying to get to this desired end state, but again, you have to work through it. You're not going to always start here. You could start as alienated. You can start as a conformist, but then you have to teach, and you have to lead, and you have to mentor, and get those people, to think of, not I would say a specific way, but think independently, take initiative, those kind of things, and just continue to work it so where it becomes the norm, it becomes the culture of the organization. So an exemplary follower, you want to talk about, hey, they exercise, independence, they're critical thinkers, they can separate, they separate from the leader of the group. One of the things that's for me, one of the things that's most positive about an exemplary follower is that they can get commander intent. And when I say commander intent, it's if I came to you and I was your boss person, and I said, hey, I need you to paint that house white. That's it. That's the desired end state. I'm not going to tell you how to get there. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm not going to tell you brush strokes, the paint, anything. It just needs to be white. Exemplary followers have a tendency to really understand commander's intent, to understand the intent without getting into the details, and then they can execute. You can see that they take initiative and are actively engaged in pretty much everything that they do, and they score high across independent thinking and engagement. Passive. Passive are the people, they just don't care. They don't care either way. Whatever happens, happens. They're just going to go with it. They don't have any commitment. Why they don't have a commitment? Because they don't care. Those are the kind of what I used to call the clock watchers, like people who would sit at their desks and they would know, be 15 minutes before, and they'd already have their jacket on and everything packed up, ready to go, because that was it. That was the end of their day. They were the 9 to 5s. So what becomes difficult a little bit with passive people is you have to understand that their commitment. How do you get them to commit? How do you work on getting them to commit to whatever it is, the cause, the situation, the end state, whatever it is? They're the ones that you have to work with, of course. You have to work with, you have to explain, you have to talk, you have to spend time. And then, and you hopefully can have them understand kind of like where you're going, why you're going, how you're going, those type of things. And then hopefully they're going to buy into it. And it takes time, but right now you can see that they have a weak sense of responsibility, and they score very low in independent thinking and very low in level engagement because they don't care. They don't want to be part of it. All they want to do, they want to get that paycheck. Woo, I'm good. I'm going home. That's a passive followership type. And then the last one is the pragmatic. And pragmatic really just say they're the practical ones. They're the ones that kind of survive. They're the ones that have adjusted and moved and shifted and done things to become relevant within the organization. So they kind of cross over. They could potentially cross over all four of the previous followership types that we talked about. They a lot of times, if you read any of these books about followership and other things, these people are called their survivors. Because they were able to adapt and circumvent and navigate the internal, happenings within an organization. They do question their leader at times, but it's not too harshly and it's sparingly. So they will buck up at times. And most cases, it's something that's very important, to them, or something that they feel that is very, very right, that has to be done. They're committed to it. So they will bring it up, but they won't do it too often. They're middle in both independent thinking and active management, and I'll show you that here in this slide. So this is kind of what we were just talking about. You have independent thinking, you have critical thinking, you have dependent on critical, and you can see where each one of these categories falls. And you can see that the pragmatic in the middle kind of touches all of them. If you can get everybody up and, like we always do when we talk about the Gartner group and other things in the magic quadrant, in the upper right-hand corner is good. Sometimes down here in the lower left-hand corner is not so good, and it's more draining on an organization, and it can impact an organization dramatically. And I'll get into that in a moment. So what are the basic needs for followers? And this is really no different than your family, the people you meet. We all want trust, compassion, stability, and hope. That's what we want. We all want that. We want to be able to trust somebody. We want to be able to trust our leadership and our teammates and trust the mission and understand that, we can make mistakes and not lose our job or not get yelled at, but actually use it as a learning experience. To trust that they've been appreciated when they do a good job, that somebody pats them on the back, that their leadership pats them on the back. Job well done. Great job. We also talk about compassion, and that's kind of goes back to that lion, that personality type. So you want to talk about compassion. I'll try to understand what somebody's going through, what they're doing, what they're dealing with. We have, especially now, we have so many different things ongoing in today's society, with the COVID and social media and now, potential riots and this, political unrest and all these different things. And for us just to take a hard stance, the yes, no, maybe so, it's the black and white, there's no gray. Are we being fair? Are we being compassionate? People are looking for compassion. People need compassion. Then we want stability. Stability knowing that, hey, everything around me, my world is not going to end in a moment's notice. I have a place I can go. I have people who will listen. I have a team that I can count on and they can count on me. I have a workplace. I have a boss who's going to be consistent the way they speak to me, the way they treat me, the way they make decisions, those type of things. That's stability. Those are things that people are looking for, and they want to look for it, all around them all the time. Stability makes people feel very, very comfortable. And I'm not saying comfortable to the point where somebody could potentially become lazy. I'm saying comfortable where they're going to want to perform and they want to be that exemplary follower because you just introduce consistency and stability into their life. And then hope. So hope you want to look at, and you want to talk about hope, the hope for success. And it could be team success, could be personal success, could be organizational success. But they want hope. They want hope that there's opportunity, based upon the work that they're executing. Can they get promoted? And that's not in all cases. Some people don't care about being promoted. Some people just want to be appreciated. And that's another thing, and I'm not going to go into today because it would take me forever and I'd never get off this webinar, is that when you start talking about people's personal drivers and you start talking about things that, in understanding people's drivers, could be money, could be time, could be, quality of life, could be a lot of different things. But when you understand people's personal drivers, you will be more effective as a follower and a leader. And I'm not saying you do a deep dive like some psychological, experiment. What I'm saying is really just try to understand and look at things from other people's perspectives and understand really what gets them going. It might not be the same thing that gets you going. Like my wife and I are complete opposites, but yet we know that, and believe me, she plays on it very much. If I don't get food, oh my gosh, she suffers the wrath. So, but we go through this and we just understand this, and this is what we do as people, as teammates, and as leadership, is understanding, trust, compassion, stability, and hope. And these are the basic needs. These are basic needs in life. These are the basic needs that I'm sure your children would want, your family members would want. But this is something that's critical to the success of an organization when you start introducing followership programs or ways to change followers or ways to teach and mentor and bring them along, because eventually they're going to be sitting in your seat. They're going to be taking your job. They're going to be taking my job. And that's something you want to make sure that, just like your children, that they're prepared for when that happens. And then if they are prepared for when that happens, you've done your job. So paths to followership, how do we get there? And there's 7 different paths to followership, and you can go in each one of these things. But really, one of the points I want to make here is there's different ways for different people and different personalities. So you have an apprentice. Apprentice is a lot of times somebody who wants to get to the next level. They want the promotion. They want to get there. So they're the ones that are aspiring to become the next leader. They're driven by personal goals and a means to transform themselves. So it's internal in a lot of ways, but all they're looking, not I say all, in majority of the cases, they're looking for that next promotion, that next step, that next run on the ladder. That's what they're looking for. You have a disciple. A disciple, ones who learns from a teacher. We do talk about disciples in martial arts, talk about disciples in a lot of different capacities, in today's world. But a disciple is going to learn from a teacher, and they're doing it because they want to transform themselves. They want to get better at something. So they want to look at it differently. That's their driver. That's what's getting them. I'm going to align myself with my teacher, and I'm going to follow. That's what's going to happen, and I'm going to get there. I'm going to learn. The next one is the mentee. The mentee is somebody who we all have these people in today's workplace, but it's like the diamond in the rough. It's seeing something in somebody that potentially somebody else doesn't see. And then the mentee aligns with a mentor. And the mentor takes that person and teaches and works and shows them and to eventually become that exemplary follower. So to become a mentee, they want to talk about transforming themselves, and their entire, I don't want to say followership existence is all due to, it's shaped by a relationship with somebody, and in most cases that's the mentor. But that's the mentee. Comrade. We see comrade, we hear comrade in Russian war movies, but comrade really is somebody that and I want to say your buddy, but somebody that you can trust on, somebody that's going to be with you 24/7, no matter what the circumstances are. They're the ones that are going to lie. They're like a military partner, buddy, but they're all shaped on relationship. Everything a comrade does is shaped on that relationship with whomever they're aligned to, whoever they're following, whoever they're hooked at the hip with. That's a comrade. And then you have a loyalist, somebody committed. A loyalist is someone who's committed to an individual organization. They're loyal. I am not going to leave. And there's a lot of, if you, and I used to do mergers and acquisitions. And when I did mergers and acquisitions, you can go into an organization and you had to do due diligence. So you go into an organization, you would have to assess. And within minutes, you can tell what type of organization is just by talking to people. And a lot of times it's a loyalist. A loyalist will come up and they will talk to you about how great it is, how they buy into it, how wonderful life is. That's sometimes a loyalist. But a lot of times, let me take it a step higher and let's go from a followership perspective. So when we used to go into organizations and we start interviewing people and talking to people, again, you can tell within minutes how well the organization was run and how well the leadership treated the teammates and the followers. You could see that almost immediately. And one thing that I found, and I didn't even realize this, but when you do an assessment of an organization and you want to buy it, that a lot of times if you go in and they have exemplary followers and they have loyalists and other people, you can sit there at times and you can demand, you would get between 5 and 20% more market value because that's a well-run organization. And that's just based upon statistics and other things, but or historical information. But I think that's pretty amazing because I used to go to a lot of different places, and as soon as you walk in, you start talking to people. You can even see the pride, like the pride they have in their desks or the pride they have in the workplace. The way they talk about leadership, the way their mannerisms, their physical mannerisms, how they do that. You can pick up on that, and right away you can understand so much about the organization in a very short period of time. Number 6, the dreamer. The dreamers, what I always think of is Jerry Maguire, and there's probably some people on the phone who are so young they don't even know who Jerry Maguire is. But Jerry Maguire was a dreamer. He's that guy. He's like, man, I want to create my own system that's fair, it's equitable. I don't want to be part of the big machine anymore. That's the dreamer, kind of I'm going to say the pie in the sky, but that's someone who has a dream and they're going to follow it. So they're driven by personal goals and a means to express themselves. So again, now they're drivers differently. They want to express themselves differently. They want to align themselves with the dream, and that's the way they want to execute. That's a personal goal. And the last one is Lifeway. So if you look at Lifeway is it's a cause, something that I want to do that I'm not giving up on. People who are part of PETA, people who are part of certain organizations, or they believe so much with the mission of the organization that it's their life. That's what they're going to align with, and they're going to stay with that. And they're driven by their stuff is their by their path to followership. They're defined, and that's how they express themselves. This is the way that they express themselves. They align with a cause, and they stay with it indefinitely. Let's see, next slide. So let's talk about impact on an organization. So when we go through this, and there's a lot of different things. And like I said when I first started, some of this stuff, if not all of this stuff, is very common sense. And you just have to look at it and take a step back and really kind of go through it and try to understand. Okay, so let's talk about number 1, less direct supervision and management required if you establish good followers. And I say good, exemplary followers. You start talking about that. So what can you do at that time? First of all, you could do more with less. You need less leadership. Because leadership and again, it's that commander's intent. You don't have to have that daily oversight, sitting with people and talking to them, and this is the next step, this is the next step. You don't have that. And what happens a lot of time from a leadership perspective is you have operational leadership and you have strategic leadership. And a lot of times what happens, if you don't have good followers, you have to align yourself on the operational leadership, because you have to be there in the day-to-day telling people how to do things or working with people. You can't do the strategic part. And the strategic part is really where you want to be as a leader, because strategic is allow you to grow the organization or the company or make change. That's where you want to be. So, you could see if you have to give a lot of supervision to somebody, or a team or a group, you're foregoing something. You're sacrificing something on the other side. Organizational commitment. You want to talk about, okay, what's the impact, a purpose, a principle, a person outside themselves? They see the big picture. They buy into it. I used to work with Mattress Firm. We did mergers and acquisitions and other things with Mattress Firm. In Mattress Firm, they had such a contagious vibe about the organization. It was amazing. I mean, sometimes you always wonder, you're like, oh my gosh, what are these people, what do they drink? I don't understand this. But it was just amazing the way that from the leadership on down, from the CEO on down, everybody had the same idea about the organization. Greatest organization, great people, love the leadership, love the mission. And they were selling mattresses, and they were good at it, by the way. But you could see it, and what would happen is these people were performers because they were so happy about doing it. They're so happy to be part of that culture that they were excited about going to work. They're excited about doing work. They're excited about giving the customer, everything that they need and making them happy. The next one is high levels of competence and focus for maximum organizational impact. So when you start talking about followership, and followerships are going to almost have like that Kaizen mindset, or that continuous improvement mindset. They always want to get better. They always want to look for opportunity. They want to take initiative. I just said number 6. But they want to take initiative. They want to look at things differently, and they want to sit there and say, okay, we can make this better. We can look at this and make this better. We need to peel this back and make this better. So when you start introducing that, and that becomes the culture, that becomes the mindset of your organization and your teammates and your followers within your organization, you're going to do, again, you're going to do more with less. And you're going to be able to save. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can that have an impact. You're going to save money. You're going to be more efficient. You can get more done. I mean, it's just a lot of different things that are associated with high competence. So you can do more with less. High levels of integrity. To me, integrity is probably one of the most important things in business and relationships. I think integrity is key. So you talk about, now you have people who are so committed, and they have integrity. They're the ones that are not saying that other people don't have integrity. But again, we're trying to get to that exemplary status. And you're going to have a point where people are always going to do the right thing no matter what. They're going to do the right thing when nobody's looking. They're going to admit fault. They're going to admit when something didn't go wrong. They're going to anyway, they're going to take, and I want to say, the right path. They're going to write the honest path. And I think that is incredibly important in business. I think it's incredibly important in relationships, and within organizations. You want to have people of the highest integrity. And again, that defines your organization. You want to talk about you want to foster an environment to build future leaders. This is impact. Again, if you can follow, you're going to lead. If you can't follow, you're not going to lead. It's as simple as that. You want to talk about these programs. And when I talk about programs, again, a lot of them are just focused on leadership. They're not focused on the followers. They're not focused on the teammates. And I may have said this earlier, but really, in a lot of organizations, the only focus that you have on a follower is their eval. And then you're going, okay, well, their eval, and that could be once a year, or you're not even doing them. And then you sit down and you give them some goals, and half the time they're not even realistic goals, and half the time the supervisor, the leader, is asking the person, you give me your goals. They're not using SMART objectives. So that's not fair to a teammate. That's not fair to a follower. We have to invest in our teammates. We have to invest in each other. And my philosophy is, and I tell this to many people quite often, is that I'm no different than anybody else. I just sit in a different chair, but we're all peers. We're all together, and I think once, if you walk that walk and you talk that talk, it's going to be contagious, and people will pick up on it, and people will open up more. People want to do more. People want to see that, hey, this person is being fair. This person is being consistent. This person is doing it for the right reasons, not doing it, for the wrong reasons. So, anyway, that's one of my things. You're actually building future leaders. You're setting the example, and you're showing them that this can be done, and you can get to that exemplary status if you're not there already. High levels of initiative, I already talked about that. You want to talk about an environment of open discussions, getting feedback, talking to people. Leaders don't have all the right answers. In fact, a lot of times they don't have the right answer. Who have the right answers? The followers. They're the ones closest to the, like we say, closest to the road. They're the ones where the rubber meets the road, and they're the ones that are going through it on a daily basis, and they know far more, than most leaders are going to know, because they're going to know what the impact is, and what the impact is going to be. So really, you talk through it, and you talk through it objectively. You want to make sure that, and this is another thing too, if you allow people, and we always say this in business, a seat at the table to voice their opinion, you're going to have a very loyal follower, and you're going to have a follower who's going to take more initiative, because now they see the value in sitting at the table and bringing up their opinion. And again, it's not the opinion. You don't come in, you don't be obstinate, you don't be difficult. It's positive. It's a positive experience. And think about it, you're grooming them to be future leader, because now you're giving them the confidence to talk, confidence to identify and bring up, whatever their thought process is. So it's to me, it's great to get different perspectives on stuff. And if anybody, I know there's some people on the phone who work with me, is that, we do this every day, and every day I ask for input because I don't have all the right answers. So, collectively we do it together. One of the biggest things, and this is me, this is now my operational hat coming on, and more of a COO hat, extreme cost advantage. So what you can do is, if you're able to introduce and build these followership teams that are exemplary or pragmatic, you're going to have a very efficient machine. You're going to have a bunch of people who are just completely committed to a cause, to an idea, to a goal, and they're going to get stuff done, and they're going to get it done no matter what. And you can, you can take, you can cut budgets, you can do other things, but you know what? These are the people, the exemplary followers, they're the ones that are going to get it done. There may be some setbacks, but they're not deterred by a setback. They're going to continue to move forward. And then the last one I want to talk about is high organizational morale. Morale. And again, you can go into an organization, you can see immediately what the morale, kind of the culture, the morale of an organization, just by talking to people. Ask a couple questions and you'll feel it, you'll get it. And you know this, if you have low morale, you're not going to get stuff done. You're going to be inefficient, you're going to have a lot of redundancy, you're going to have a lot of mistakes. People are going to be unhappy, people are not going to want to come to work, you're going to have a high turnover. You want to build that morale, and you want to make that morale as high as possible, because that's where people are performers. That's where people are going to come in, they're going to kill it. And one of the things about morale is, if you can get it up to a high level, there's literally nothing, there's nothing that you can't get done as a group. And again, and it's not just the leader, it's the group. And that's something that, and I will say till, the day I die, is that the most important thing to me, it's the people, it's the team, and it's not something that you just say, it's something that you live. So in saying that, that is the end. That is my my talk on followership, personalities, the impact on organizations. Just really, how can we build an environment that we focus on our people and not ourselves, and not leadership, and not, we invest in teammates. We take the time out of our schedule. We take the time out of our day. When somebody comes in our office, we make them feel that they're the most important thing that you have ongoing at that moment in time. Those are the things I think we need to focus on. And so from my perspective, I think followership is one of the most important aspects of business. I think followership is one of the most important aspects of life. And I think if you strive to become that exemplary follower, there's really nothing you can't do. And that's really all I have, Rich. I don't know if there's any questions.
There is. There
Okay.
absolutely is. And I know, folks, we ran over time, and if you have enough time to answer this pretty quickly, John, I'll let you take it. If not, we can always email the answer. But Thomas wants to know, what is the difference between exemplary and pragmatic's description?
Well, you have to understand, so pragmatic is more practical. Pragmatic is more survivor, and it crosses over into those other categories. So it can cross over into the alienated crossover. You can have your, I'm gonna say, your foot and your arm in each one of those categories. Exemplary is just in the upper right-hand corner. Exemplary is gonna be the one that are gonna take all the initiative. The survivor sometimes, I'm sorry, the pragmatic person sometimes is only going to do, I'm gonna say, like, talk to leadership in a limited capacity, where you have your exemplary person that's consistently engaging leadership and talking about, improvement opportunities and those types of things. So, and I could go on about this, and if you get Tom, I don't know who Tom is, but if you get that information, I would definitely, contact that person, and I could talk to him about it.
Okay, and Tom, we'll make sure get your email, and we'll look up your information on your registration, and we'll go ahead and give it to John so he can give you any further information on it. With that being said, there's no other questions. And John, I have to say that was a fantastic presentation, and I could tell by our audience that a lot of people had interest. So it was a great topic, a good idea for a topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that being said, folks, if you do have any further questions, please, by all means, you can simply pick up that phone, call us at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or better yet, you can chat with us live on our website, Monday through Friday during normal business hours, or email us at info@flycastpartners.com. Folks, I want you to stay safe out there. And until our next event, we'll see you then.